Everyone, and welcome back to Tea Time Crochet. Today is June 1st. May just kind of flew by. I'm sorry there was no video last week, but as you can tell, I'm in a new space. So last week my husband decided that he wanted to convert our larger shed into my craft room. So we went ahead and did that, and I will have a room tour just a little bit later in this podcast. But due to being able to do that, I wasn't able to get to any of my stuff. So I wasn't able to film anything, and I haven't had enough time this week with organizing everything in here to be able to film a tutorial. So I thought I would just go ahead and do a short little podcast and a room tour, and hopefully everything next week will get back on schedule and everything. But it's a much bigger space. So what it is it's a metal shed, like what you would buy at Lowe's or anything like that. But the people who owned our house before us had bought the metal shed, and then they extended it with wood on the bottom, so it's the same size, it's the same height as our house almost. So you don't have to duck to walk in, you can just walk straight in and it's just fine. And so there's a good probably 2-foot wooden base along the whole perimeter on the bottom that's holding the shed up. So the way it was when we moved in, it had some lighting in it, and it had a few ancient outlets in it. So and when we purchased our house, we intended for this to be my craft room to begin with, but our house was a lot smaller than what we had intended on buying. But in the area that we're looking at, all the houses are kind of the same size, so we just, took the one that we liked the best, and we've kind of, dealt with it being smaller and had to adjust and everything. And we had way too much storage stuff to be able to fit in the greenhouse that we had originally bought for storage, which was my old craft room. For those of you that don't know, my old craft room was a greenhouse that we converted into my craft room. We put carpet and insulation, that bubble insulation that you can buy in it. But it was still very cold in the winter and still very hot in the summer. So, and now that we've been here almost 2 years, it'll be 2 years in a couple weeks, the insulation is starting to fall down in there and everything. And my husband just, decided that he wanted to go ahead and convert this one into my craft room. So what we've done is we've taken what was already here, and we drywalled all of the walls and the ceiling and everything. We put in a window. The one thing that was nice that the other people who owned the house previously did was there's like an entryway off of the original shed that they built out of wood. So there's a decent sized entryway that's right over there. So we have some storage stuff there. The girls' board games are there, and that's also where we keep our books. So that's also, really nice to have, that I don't have to have it in here. It's just in the entryway, which is quite large. And so my husband put in all new outlets. The only thing we have not finished is we don't have lighting yet. My husband ordered special lighting off of the internet, and of course they took freaking forever to ship it. So hopefully that's supposed to be here today, and he'll be able to do it on his days off. But in here I have I also have a window that we put in. My husband cut a hole in the shed, and we put in, framing and everything. So I have a good sized window, so I'll have some natural lighting. I have an air conditioner, which hopefully I'll be able to finish all this before it gets too hot, because it's quite noisy. But I do have an air conditioner, so I'll be able to be out here in the summertime and not bake to death because where we live, it gets very, very hot in the summers, and it's very hot all summer long. We kind of live in a, it's not necessarily desert, but it is very sagebrush and dry here, so, you know, so it's really nice to have that. And then, of course, I have my little plug-in heater for the winter that I've been using since we moved here. But it is much, much bigger, and I'm much happier with it. So I believe it's a 9 by 10, 9.5 by 10, I think is what my husband said when we did measurements. But it's fully finished now, except for the light. But so I have, you know, actual walls, you know, they're drywall, and we painted over them and did all of the, you know, drywall stuff that you do. I have carpeting, and everything that every craft thing that I have fits, which didn't in the greenhouse. So I'm actually to fit every single little craft thing that I have that I've collected over the years into this one room, and it's all nice and neat. So I'm very pleased with it. And I did choose pink paint because pink is my favorite color. And the only thing that we kept that was originally in here is there's 2 cabinets, metal cabinets. They're like the old pharmacy type cabinets. I would say they're probably from 50s, 60s, somewhere around there, because they're metal. And there's 2 metal cabinets that were hung on that wall behind the camera, and I did keep those, and we painted those, and that has been, you know, extra storage, so I've been grateful for that. So I think I've gone over everything. I do have, you know, little sections for everything, so I'm, you know, very pleased, and I've reorganized some stuff, so my yarn is better organized than just sitting in bags on the floor, because I didn't have enough storage space for everything. But I do now, and it's pretty well set where it's going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and get into, I have no finished projects this week. I do have 2 new whips, so I'm going to go ahead and get into that. And then after I finish that, then I'll get into the room tour, because I have nothing else. I just had the 2 whips that I've been working on, and I finished everything else before. Well, technically I have 3 whips. I'll probably show you that whip because it's on my knitting machine, and it's just the panel for the blanket that I'm making for my bed out of scraps on my flatboard knitting machine. I'll probably show you that when I do the room tour, because I can't take it off. So, but I have showed you one of those panels before. But like I said, I'll go ahead and just get into what whips I have. And I just have them in my bag here because I brought them out here from inside the house. So before this started, before my husband even mentioned it, I just decided that I wanted to work on, you know, a couple more projects, because I had finished everything from before. So I picked out a few things, and I tried to find patterns that I had yarn on hand for. So, which I have a lot of yarn that I have hauled lately, you know, clearance yarn and yarn that my husband's bought me on clearance and everything else. But I'm kind of in a shawl mood. Everybody knows that shawls are my most favorite thing to make. If you're new, then now you know. Shawls are my most favorite thing to crochet, and I have a million of them, but it's what I like to do. So, so I have 2 shawls on the go right now. I took out a bunch of other yarn that I was going to make some other shawls, and then I realized that I had miscalculated and I'm too short on them. So I've just been working on the ones that I do have enough yarn for right now. So the first one is this one. It is the Pineapple Peacock Shawl, and it looks like this. It's very pretty. I've never done the pineapple stitch before, so this is going to be brand new for me. And it uses bulky yarn, and I have a ton of bulky yarn on hand right now, so from that haul that my husband did at Michael's a couple months ago, I think it's been now. So what I'm using is, who's this by? Loops and Threads Charisma. So it looks like this. And I have 3 different colors here, so I'm going to kind of do like a gradient. Let's see if I can pull this out without undoing what I'm doing. So I'm starting off with this light pink. I'm not quite sure what happened to the label, so I can't even give you the name. But anyway, it's this, you know, light bubblegum pink. And this is what I've got started so far. How many rows in am I? I just finished the 7th row, and since it's bulky, you know, it's going to work up fairly fast. I have not, since we started the remodel in here, I have not picked it up. So this is what I got done prior to finishing that, but I like it so far. So it's going to go from this bubblegum pink to this more fuchsia type pink, and it is called Fuchsia. So its name is Fuchsia, and they are all the Loops and Thread Charisma. And then it's going to go into dark purple. So it'll be a gradient from light to dark. And this should be enough to finish this shawl. So I think it's going to be really pretty, and I don't think that changing the yarn with the pineapple will make much difference. So yeah, I'm very pleased with it so far. It seems to be a really easy pattern. What do I do with my hook? And I am using a 6.5 millimeter, which is what it called for. So on normal basis, I would have just gone up a couple hook sizes, but I went ahead and went with whatever the pattern said. So that is my first whip. And then the second one is this one, and I don't have a whole lot done on it, but I did start it. So it is the Secret Path shawl, and it looks like this. And I'm hoping I have enough of this. If not, I'll probably just add some white on the bottom, but this is about as far as I've got on it. And it has these ridge stitches in it, the back loop, back post double crochets on it. Sorry, I couldn't think of what I wanted to say for a second. So it kind of creates these ridges, which are really kind of cool. So, and this is, I love this yarn in Peacock. So it's a really pretty turquoise blue. And like I said, this is just what I had on hand. I'm hoping that I'll have enough, because the pattern says that she used cotton flour, 200 grams, with a 4 millimeter crochet hook. I'm using a 5.5, but it doesn't say how many skeins that she used. So I'm hoping that it's only 200 grams, because this is only a gram short, if that's the case. So like I said, if I don't, then I have lots of scrap white over there. I think I might just do the trim in white if I don't have enough. But like I said, it doesn't say how many skeins she used or anything. It just says 200 grams. So, and of course I'm not using the yarn that she used, but I had never even heard of that yarn. So I just, like I said, I wanted to use what I had on hand because I did not realize how much yarn I do have right now until I went to go put it all away and had to try and find spaces for all of it. But I'm so grateful that I've had, you know, the opportunity to be able to have, you know, as much yarn as I do have. A lot of it is scraps just left over from other projects, which I am working on, you know, trying to figure out ways to use those. I have the scrap blanket that's on my knitting machine. I plan on working up some like scrappy hats too once I finish that panel. And I've seen people use the Addy, which is a circular knitting machine, and make reversible hats. So I want to try and make that on my machine and see how it goes. Using up the scraps that I have, or the smaller skeins, or anything like, you know, that I found. But so I'm going to go ahead and get into the room tour, and then I'll pop back on and, you know, close it out. Okay, so I'm standing in the entranceway that I was telling you about, looking into the room. So like I said, I pretty much have everything set up the way that I want it right now. I don't see any reason to change it. Everything works so well. So I'm just going to, you know, walk in, and I'm going to immediately turn to my right. I'm going to try not to jostle you. This is going to be my sewing area, and I also have my glitters there. So the white Jord tote there has nothing but glitters in it. I used to do glitter mixes for nails and everything, and now I really like doing that, but I just haven't done it lately. So I still have all my supplies in just that one Jord tote there, which hopefully, you know, maybe I'll get back into it. I thought about making some shaker cards, you know, using glitter, but I have my sewing table here, which just is one of those computer desks. It's just an old one that we had, and I just recovered it with contact paper. So I have two sewing machines. I have my white sewing machine and my brother. As expensive as my white sewing machine is, my brother works better, so that's kind of why it's up top. And then in these two blue totes here, I have current sewing projects that I'm working on, and also mending that I need to do. So I have a couple garments there that I need to mend, and I've kind of been putting that off. So up here, I have one of my hangers for my sewing my thread. Sorry. I am so combobbled today. I don't know why. And then my other one's down there, which I currently, that's all the thread I own right now, so I currently don't need to use that one. But that is my sewing area. And then here's where I plan on filming. So I have my sign, and then my chair is fully able to move from each station, is what I'm going to call them for now. But I have my dress mannequin, and then that thing with the bag on it is fabric. So my husband a couple years ago made me a fabric holder. So it's like a stand, and it has all these like little slots that you can slide the fabric through and hang it on. So I have all the current fabric that I could not fit in the tote that I'll show you a little bit later. And it's also some of my nicer stuff and my netting. It's all on that stand, and that's one of those bags that you get from Amazon when you get like a gift. I believe that's the one I got for Christmas, and my laminator came in it. So it slid right over top of it, so that'll keep that fabric nice and neat. And then I have my tutorial table here where I do all of my tutorials, and down there is a basket of fabric right now, because that's all the fabric that I've set out for the projects that I'm going to be sewing soon. And of course my Granny Square big tote down there that has stuff in it. It's currently holding my movie night cocoon that I can't find the rest of the Panther Pink for. But so that, like I said, that is where I do my tutorials. And then next to that is my knitting machine table. And underneath it is my cubby, like, bookcase thing that my husband bought me last year for my birthday, I think it was. So I have all of my little cubbies in it that have yarn, and I also have that center one right there that has paper in it now. And then I just have pens and pencils there, and my owls. I'm an owl freak, in case you didn't know. Owls are my most favorite thing in the world. I have pipe cleaners in that fox container, and then that little glass jar right there. My daughter just made me yesterday, and she put my fabric pens in it. So this is my knitting machine. It's an ultimate sweater machine with 2 extensions in it. And that's what I do most of, or all of my machine knitting on. And like I said, currently I have one of those panels that I'm doing for the Afghan for my bed. And I have these 2 bins of scrap yarn are going to go for that blanket. Everything in these 2 totes right here are just tools for the knitting machine. In that little drawer thing, I have scissors and like those decorative cutting scissors. I also have pliers and my hole punches in there. And then that tin right there, which is a coffee tin I just covered in duct tape, has more of my knitting machine stuff. And then I got that decorative paint can. My husband got it on clearance at some point, so I stuck all of my embroidery thread in there because it's quite pretty. You can see all the beautiful colors coming through. So that is that, and I'm seriously trying not to jostle you. Down there is the bag that I'm keeping my panels in, and it also has all of, in this little red tote here, has the bag that has all of my panels for that Afghan I just talked about, the one I'm doing on my knitting machine. It also has all of the squares for that granny square blanket that I was doing that I haven't picked up in months. Really need to get back to that. So I'm going to blind you. That's the beautiful window my husband put in, and I have my little sun dancers in it. All of these are patterns, all, you know, segregated into binders, and then I have all of my craft books there too. Also my new knit crate box, and up there are all of my craft bags, and then this is just paper and miscellaneous stuff. I have my laminated sheets in there, and just other junk. So my new mandala that I bought a couple weeks ago, and it was in the house, so I didn't get the chance to put it away, and now I can't find a crevice to put it in. So it's just sitting there all pretty for me. I have my paper cutter that I haven't put away yet, and that's my ball winder. And then in all of these, this dresser, my ugly old dresser, all of these but 2 are yarn. So I have, I'm not even sure if you guys are interested in seeing what's in every drawer. I have all of my nail stuff in this top drawer. And then we go from, whoops, sorry about that. So this drawer is full of yarn. This drawer is full of yarn. This drawer is full of yarn. And then this drawer is just full of miscellaneous craft stuff. A lot of stuff that the girls use. So now for the last corner. So in this gray tote is all of my finished projects that I've tried to sell over the years. The ones that I haven't sold are in this gray tote. And then I have the 2 brown cabinets. This one and that one are out of our kitchen because when we bought our house, they decided that they wanted to take the fridge, and we already owned a fridge, so we let them take it, but our fridge was too big for the space that they had, And these two cabinets, this one was on the other side of the fridge that they had, and that one was above it. Oops, sorry. This one was sitting next to the fridge that they had on the floor, and then this one was, this other one over here was the one that was above the fridge. So we took those out, and I have been using them in my crafty room ever since. And then these are the two cabinets I was telling you about, the metal cabinets, and I painted. And it's kind of nice because I actually have a place for those little round magnet jars that Dollar Tree was carrying a few years back, but because they'll stick right to that. And then that ugly thing back there in the corner right there are two filing cabinets, and I also have my tote with my loom in it, and then the white PVC, I don't know if you can see it, that is a yarn holder that my husband made a few years back for me. It holds up to, what is it, 4 to 6 skeins, depending on the size of the skein. And it sits on the floor, and then it just, so the yarn will go through the, it has 2 poles, and the yarn actually goes through those 2 poles, and it's able just to wind out on its own. But my husband made me that, and I have not been able to use it at all since we've moved here because our house is too small. But now, since I have extra space, I'll be able to use it. And then that's just garbage that needs to go out. I have my sock forms there. And then in here is more yarn. And then in here is just scissors and, you know, office supply stuff. And then I have my new laminator on top of right there. So I hope I didn't make everybody too sick, but that is pretty much my new craft room, and I wanted to go ahead and share it with you. So I'm going to go ahead and reposition, and then we'll close out. I'm really excited about my new space. I think it's going to work out perfect. I've already been out here a little bit yesterday and was working on that panel. I'm hoping to finish it maybe today. And then I want to get started on all of that sewing that's in that basket right there. I need to get all those panels cut out. I'll share that project with you guys later once I've actually got it underway and I've made some. But for now, I kind of just want to see how it goes. But yeah, so I think it was worth not being able to have a video last week. We worked really hard, and it turned out really well. So I'm very pleased with it. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.